Hey, welcome back to Landscape Alert, where this week we are going to be taking inspiration for this design from Emily Hillier. Now, she has her own Instagram account, which I suggest you guys go check it out. Great designs out there, especially for this type of backyards. And she has many other designs over at Emily Hillier Garden Design. But now that I am going to do this design, let's get to the design and kind of see if this will work out for you. Maybe not. So one of the things that you are going to think about if you are going to be using this design is where you live. And this is going to be primarily for a small yard, even though it doesn't mean that you can't use it anywhere else. But if you happen to be in an urban setting, or this design will work for your area. So if that is the case and you have one of those type of yards where it's more long than it is wide, this will work out really well. One of the ideas behind this, and maybe this is just what I'm looking at here, definitely ask her, because she will have the original design one, but also what she's working with. But if your area is similar to this, then this will apply to you. So from the house itself going out, you're going to have an area where you have a patio. From there, you're going to have an area of grass, and then beyond that, towards the back of the property, you have another area for concrete, potentially a room for maybe art, maybe an extra guest room, whatever that may be. So that's kind of where we are working with. So right now you're kind of seeing what I'm drawing here. Just to scale, I should add that in feet. So if you were to eventually print this, you could use this for your landscape. One thing I should add is that depending on where you live, you are going to be needing a few different things in terms of what kind of grass you can use, what kind of plants you can use, and even materials that you can use. So if you are in an area where you can have or you want to do things like in this design, then you may be able to do that. But you will definitely see if your area will have those for you to use. So right now you're kind of seeing how I am drawing this patio. I should say that later on I made it a little nicer, but this area can be potentially about anywhere between 15 feet and 10 wide or more. It will depend on how much space you have there, mainly because right now we're kind of focusing on everything. We don't have anything exact, but this will allow you to have like raised garden bed, an area to sit. This will also do one of the things that I'm also very interested every time I do a design where is we need to get water away from the house. So if we're able to elevate, we are able also to grab this water, in this case from the turf, to go to the property lines, and from there either there is a good amount of drainage, or we installed a French drain for all the water to get caught and be taken out towards the front of the house or the back of the house. So from there, you'll see how I am putting areas of stepping stones. It could be done with actual flagstone or some type of concrete made stone steps. In between, I am leaving about 6 inches for you to walk on, or whoever is using this. But something that should be added is that it's going to depend on the height of the people there. Generally, anywhere between 4 and 6 inches is a good space between the steps, but you can always make them a little closer or a little more apart. Now, there is this area of sod that we are working with, which is approximately about 14 by 20 feet, which it's not a ton, but is a good space for this area. In the design, there is a bit of gap between both patios in the back and the front, but in this case, I decided to put the whole thing with turf. And again, I mentioned before, it's going to depend in if you want to do maintenance or not, which that will lead you to either put real grass or rolled sod, or if you want to do synthetic turf, which you could either way. If you are doing synthetic turf, then you are not going to be putting on a sprinkler system for this. You're still going to need a drip system for the areas where you are going to be having some shrubs and trees, perennials, all that good stuff. So keep that in mind depending on what you're thinking. So in this area, if we are kind of basing ourselves that this would be real grass, then there's a chance that you are going to need probably 2 zones for irrigation, for sprinkler zones, and most likely 1 zone for the drip. Again, it's going to depend on where you live and how much water you have, and also how much pressure of water you have, because that also is going to be important, especially if you have lower pressure. You may need to do, as opposed to maybe 1 zone, maybe 3 zones. So this is going to be depending on that. So let me not discourage you on doing this, but be mindful of that as well. So of course, right now I'm kind of working on just designing where this turf is going to be. This is just in a way that I'm doing it. There's different ways that you can do it, especially if you are wanting to be a designer, or even if you just want to design it for yourself. You definitely want to make it look nice, especially if you're going to hand this off to somebody else that's going to help you with installation of said design. So now you're kind of seeing how I am redoing this area for the patio, though next to the house area, because you're going to have pavers right next to the house. Then as you move away, you're going to have the steps, the sod, and then behind you'll have another concrete pad. So you kind of see how I'm filling in the areas for mulch. Now it's going to depend again how much water you get. You may want to do a bit of mulch and also some aggregate, maybe some type of rock, some type of ornamental rock, river rock, granite. Is going to depend on your taste. But in this area, we're going to be able to put mulch, and in that mulch, we are going to put as well some shrubs, trees, and so forth and so on. You'll see how I'm working on this to where it's going to be this bench area right next to this wall, which is going to look really nice. And also this stepping stones, well, it could probably be from concrete, approximate 4 by around 12 inches, which is enough for a feet, depending on your feet, I should add. So you can always adjust this to be, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 24, and the list can go on and on. But for this specific style, you definitely want it to be longer than it is wider, which is why these are the measurements that we're using for this. So of course, we are filling everything in to have this area for to cross from the paver area to the concrete area, where it seems it's going to be a little more room for, say, a table, maybe some type of outdoor a patio furniture, potentially even a grill and that type of thing if you want to make it so. Now in this particular design, there is some floating benches that you could potentially do if you are wanting to do this as well. You are having that T-like shape wall there, and that's where you're attaching those benches. So you can do this if you are wanting to copy this exact same design, or you could put something else. Again, different styles of design, different components to those designs as well. Keep in mind that this is a floating bench that is connected to this wall, which is approximate about 20 inches in elevation, about 24. And you are having about that seating area to be about 18 inches, right? So you can sort of see right now, sort of side to side, where there's just a bit more of that wall. And generally, I say between 18 and 20 for those benches, just because that's generally where it's nice for most people to sit on. If you are taller person, then you can definitely go higher. Again, just adjust it to your needs. So in this area, I'm not necessarily putting any specific shrubs and or grasses and or trees. It will depend. I am just copying for the most part of the design. I didn't really focus on what could be done, but you can always do different kinds of shrubs and trees. You can do anything like asperias, roses. You can do lilacs. You can do from trees, you definitely want to do something smaller because of space, but you could do something like a service berry, maybe some of the pears that tend to be a bit smaller. And of course, the list will go on and on. Right now, for the most part, I'm doing a lot of ornamental grasses like feather reeds, avenas, grama. Again, there is a lot to decide and to choose. And the same goes for perennials. Over here, they have a good amount of perennials on the side of the stepping stones, which you can also use to be more of a sort of ground cover that will look really nice. So again, there's just many ways to just make your backyard so nice, and it will depend on where you are. If you have a lot of water, then you're gonna be able to have a lot of more stuff, versus if you're more on the high desert type of area or desert area, like say Arizona, Nevada, that type of thing, where there is going to be water but not a lot. So instead of having a lot of turf, like in this case, you might want to have synthetic turf, and also instead of having wood mulch, you may want to have some type of granite rock, 1.5 inch or river rock, that would be able to work well for your area. But in all, this is the design for this backyard. What are your thoughts on this? Is this something that you can use in your backyard? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know if any of this is useful. I want to do more designs and help out, especially if you are working with your own design for your own house. You can always reach us over on Instagram at Landscape Allure, and you'll see here where to reach us at. And don't forget the motto over here, which is Dream Design Create, and I will see you guys on the next video. Take care. Bye.